Welcome to Starwatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. He didn't say much, just one word. But that single word, love, hit like a thunderstorm across the sky of silence he's lived under for years. In a moment no one expected, Wang Yibo, the famously guarded actor, singer, and global icon, shattered his icy image with a raw, heartfelt statement that stunned millions around the world. And it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Brace yourself, because this isn't just another celebrity headline. This is the sound of a heart finally speaking. It happened in a moment so quiet, many almost missed it. But for those who have followed Wang Yibo for years, those who've admired his discipline, his stoic charm, and his unshakable focus, that single word he uttered carried a weight no headline could fully capture. He was asked a seemingly ordinary question during a routine interview. What inspires you most these days? It wasn't provocative. It wasn't meant to probe. But something shifted in that instant. He hesitated visibly. For a man so carefully measured, even that pause felt intimate. And then, softly, without embellishment or explanation, he said, "Love." Just one word, but it echoed like thunder across a sky of silence he's kept for so long. There was no smirk, no irony, no defense in his tone. It was honest, pure, and perhaps even vulnerable. For a public figure who has built an entire career on self-control and mystery, this was not a slip of the tongue. It was a quiet surrender, and fans knew it. What followed was not chaos or scandal, but a hush, like the world collectively leaning in. Social media lit up, not with outrage, but with reverence. Something about the simplicity of that answer felt more authentic than any polished performance. It didn't just suggest that Yibo had been moved by love. It suggested he had been changed by it. No names were mentioned. No backstory was offered. But the message was clear. Love, whatever form it takes, had found its way into his life. And for once, he wasn't hiding it. That single word broke the silence, and in doing so, spoke volumes. In the aftermath of Wang Yibo's quiet yet powerful moment, the world was left to interpret the true meaning behind that single word, love. It wasn't shouted, it wasn't explained, but it lingered in the air with the weight of something long unspoken. For many, it felt like a confession, not in the traditional, dramatic sense, but something more delicate. A truth released without force, a feeling too full to keep hidden any longer. It wasn't what he said, but the way he said it, gently, vulnerably, with a flicker of hesitation that revealed more than any grand gesture ever could. And yet, there were no declarations, no names, no stories, no traceable clues. Just one word. That subtlety has only deepened the mystery. Was it meant for someone in particular? Was it a public nod to a private bond? Or was it a moment of self-acknowledgement? A quiet affirmation of emotions he had long carried in silence? For years, Yibo has been a master of restraint, building his image on precision and privacy. To witness him step even briefly outside of that, to allow even a glimpse of what lies beneath the surface, felt monumental. It wasn't just about love, it was about permission. Permission to feel, to be human, to let emotion rise without fear of what it might reveal. In that sense, perhaps it was both a confession and a message. One that didn't need to be shouted to be heard. One that resonated precisely because it was understated. Because in that softness, fans around the world recognized something honest. And sometimes, honesty speaks louder when it whispers. This was not a moment created for headlines. It was a moment meant to be felt. Sometimes, the most telling truths are not spoken at all. They're stitched into the quiet details. The glance held a second too long. The softening of a smile. The choice of a song that says what lips won't. In the days following Wang Yibo's quiet mention of love, fans began to notice a series of subtle gestures, pieces of a puzzle that, when placed together, suggested something deeply personal. He was seen wearing a bracelet, one not unlike the one both he and Xiao Zhan wore during their time filming together. To the casual observer, it may seem unremarkable. But to those who have followed their journey, both on screen and off, it felt significant, like a quiet nod to a past still cherished. Then came a brief clip caught by a fan's camera. Yibo, alone, smiling as he watched something on his phone. Some say it was a performance video. Others insist it was a solo by Xiao Zhan. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't what was on the screen. It was his expression. It was soft, unguarded, touched with something that looked very much like affection. And then there was the music. A recent playlist shared online included a song known for its lyrics about unspoken love and the courage to hold on in silence. Was it coincidence? Or yet another breadcrumb left by someone who, for so long, has lived behind a veil of restraint? To many, these aren't just clues, they're a language. A way of speaking that doesn't need headlines or declarations. In the smallest things, a bracelet, a song, a fleeting smile, fans see a story unfolding. One that may never be confirmed in words, but is quietly written in every gesture, waiting for those who choose to see. Across oceans and continents, a single moment spoken in quiet honesty has echoed louder than any headline. From the crowded streets of Seoul to the soft-lit cafes of Paris, from the skyscrapers of New York to the serene temples of Kyoto, something profound has stirred, not just in fandoms, but in the hearts of everyday people who recognize themselves in Wang Yibo's fragile truth. The word love, so often used carelessly in the world of celebrity, became something sacred in his voice. There was no performance, no agenda, just a man, finally letting the edges of his soul show. In Thailand, fans gathered online in tearful solidarity, crafting tribute videos not of glamour, but of sincerity. In Indonesia and the Philippines, radio shows played his words on loop, accompanied by soft ballads and quiet conversations about what it means to love in silence. Meanwhile, in Canada and Australia, articles flooded local forums, not questioning who Yibo loves, but marveling at how gently he chose to reveal it. Even in cultures where emotional reserve is deeply valued, Japan, Singapore, France, the response was not guarded. It was tender. There was no need to explain or defend. People understood, not just because they're fans, but because the experience of unspoken love is universal. For some, it reminded them of first loves. For others, of missed chances or enduring devotions held quietly for years. What Yibo offered wasn't just a celebrity's soundbite. It was a mirror. And in that reflection, people around the world saw the raw, human courage it takes to speak your heart. Not loudly, but honestly. In doing so, he transcended the boundaries of language and culture. He reminded us that love, in any form, spoken or not, is something that connects us all. Just as the world was still reeling from Wang Yibo's quiet admission, a new ripple emerged, not through a press conference or a headline, but through a poem. Posted without fanfare, it appeared like a breath against glass. Soft, delicate, and almost too fragile to touch. The words, attributed to Xiao Zhan, were brief but weighty. Love doesn't have to be shouted out loud. Sometimes it's enough to just hold on, even if the world doesn't know. There was no direct mention of anyone, no hashtags, no names. Yet, to those who had followed the quiet symphony between these two men, the looks, the laughter, the unsaid, this felt like a reply, not just to Yibo's trembling word, but to a history woven in glances and silence. It was not a denial, nor was it a confirmation. It was something rarer, a recognition, a message wrapped in restraint, aching with the beauty of what remains unsaid. In an industry where statements are measured, and silence is often safer than sincerity, Xiao Zhan's words carried a kind of bravery that few noticed at first. But for those who listened closely, it was unmistakable. Not an echo, but an answer. A poem not written to fan flames or feed speculation, but to honor a feeling that may never be fully named. What moved people most wasn't just what he said, but how he chose to say it. Gently, poetically, with grace, as if love, when real, deserves not volume, but reverence. And so, in the stillness between two voices, something began to bloom, not in headlines, but in hearts. A quiet conversation between souls that continues, even now, beyond the noise, beyond the stage, in the sanctuary of unspoken truth. In a world increasingly addicted to spectacle, where love stories are often sold as headlines or controversies, there is something remarkably brave about tenderness that chooses to remain quiet. What Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan appear to share is not marked by declarations or drama, but by something far more enduring, restraint. Their connection, whether interpreted as friendship, affection, or something deeper, defies the usual script. It exists not in the spotlight's heat but in the shade, where the real things often grow. It takes courage to speak love aloud, but perhaps it takes even more to let it be felt without ever naming it. This is not a romance fed by rumor, nor a relationship built for performance. It is the kind of bond that has chosen dignity over disclosure, meaning over media. They have not needed to confirm what they mean to each other, because those who have watched closely have already understood. In stolen glances, mirrored gestures, shared silences, the language of care has always been there. What makes this story resonate isn't its mystery, but its maturity. It resists scandal even when provoked. It avoids sensationalism even when headlines beg for it. Instead, it offers a portrait of connection that reflects something many of us recognize but rarely see celebrated. A love, or at least a devotion, that isn't defined by labels, timelines, or public approval. Their story, if we can call it that, whispers rather than shouts. But its impact is undeniable. In their quiet, we are reminded that not all truth needs volume, and that sometimes, the bravest kind of love is the one that endures softly, unconfirmed, unguarded, and undeterred by a world too loud to hear the heart when it speaks gently. This isn't just about two celebrities. It's about human emotion, about the courage it takes to let the world see even a sliver of your truth. It's about the fans who've grown with them, who respect not just their work, but their right to feel. In cultures across Asia, Europe, and the Americas, there's a shift happening away from judgment toward acceptance. And maybe, just maybe, Yibo's whisper of love is part of that revolution. Fans are now keeping a close eye on behind-the-scenes footage from new films or concerts, subtle collaborations like songwriting credits or voiceovers, photo metadata indicating secret meetups or overlapping travel, and even fan-designed projects meant to support their freedom of expression. Wang Yibo didn't shout. He didn't explain. He didn't try to convince us of anything. He just said one word, love. And in that moment, 1 million people heard their own hearts echo back. If the story touched you, if you believe in love, in truth, and in the beauty of human connection, then please, subscribe to this channel for more heartfelt stories, exclusive insights, and updates on the stars you love. Folded hands, thank you for watching. And wherever you are in the world, remember, sometimes silence speaks the loudest.